My beloved child, listen intently to what I am declaring to you in this very hour. From the dawn of creation, I placed you in the palm of my hand like a precious jewel chosen from among the nations, destined for a purpose that no power of darkness can erase. You may hear the whispers of the past words spoken in anger, curses, uttered to cast a shadow over your life. But know this with absolute certainty. Not one of those words has the authority to define your identity. For I, the living God, have called you by my name, and when I call, every other voice must fall silent. Words raised against you are but dust carried away by the wind. Yet my voice resounds forever, engraved upon the tablet of your heart like a holy flame that never dies out. Rest your heart in the truth that you belong to me, and that your existence is no accident. I have breathed into you the very breath of life, and within that breath is the unchangeable imprint of destiny. When you pass through seasons of storm, you may think that darkness has triumphed, but it is only a fleeting illusion. For I reign upon the throne of glory, and from that throne I have set around your soul a barrier no enemy can penetrate. Those ancient curses that once seemed to bind you now dissolve in the light of resurrection, melting like wax before the fire. You are no longer a prisoner in chains, but an heir of royalty standing among the company of the redeemed, purchased with innocent blood. Lift up your head, my child, and behold the heavens opened wide. Darkness may cover for a time, but the Son of Righteousness rises with healing in his wings. Do not let the memory of bitter words unsettle you. You have been sealed with a sacred seal, the seal of the Holy Spirit, and that is your eternal guarantee. No one can remove that seal, for it was engraved with the blood of the sacrifice on Golgotha. When you hear the echo of the past trying to revive those curses, at once confront it with my promises. For it is written, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." Once I have proclaimed it, every other sound becomes an empty echo. You are called not to live in fear, but to walk in the authority I have placed in your hands. I have given you armor of light to cover every part of your soul. When you put on that armor, no arrow of the enemy can touch you. The sword of the Spirit, which is my word, has been entrusted to you, not to be hidden away, but to be wielded in the battles of the unseen. Remember, each declaration from your mouth is not mere speech, but fire proceeding from the lips of the Almighty. Therefore, do not allow your lips to be bound in silence by fear. Let the sacred proclamations flow without ceasing, causing darkness to tremble and flee. I want you to know that I have been present in every tear you have shed. When you silently endured the invisible wounds left by poisonous words, I stooped down to wipe them away. I have seen deep into your heart, into the place where pain seemed hidden from all, and I say, it is enough. From now on you shall not live under the yoke of curses, but in the freedom of grace. You are not a pitiful soul, but a warrior forged in the fire of trials. Do not think of yourself as weak. Indeed, it is in your weakness that my power is made perfect. When you feel you have no strength left, that is the moment my strength pours out abundantly, lifting you higher than every adversity. Engrave this in your heart: the enemy can only threaten with words, but I hold the power of life and death. The enemy may broadcast his threats, but I have already written the script of your life with a handwriting no one can erase. Even when others intend to harm you, I turn their schemes into the very foundation of blessing. As Joseph once said to his brothers, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So it shall be with you. Every plot against you will become a step lifting you to a higher place. Look beyond the words spoken against you and see my hand arranging all things for your eternal good. I do not merely promise protection. I declare deliverance. The invisible chains that once held your mind are now broken. The veil of deception covering your eyes is now torn away. You have been led out of darkness into marvelous light. As you walk in that light, you will clearly see that the curse has lost its power. It is like a shadow vanishing when the sun shines upon it. Therefore step out no longer bowed in shame, but stand tall as one declared righteous. You are a member of the heavenly family called by the new name I have given you. That name is not linked to failure or sorrow, but to victory and hope. Each time you speak your name, remember that behind it stands the full inheritance I have prepared for you. You are never alone, for my angels encamp around you, guarding you in every path. Even when you do not see them, there are hosts of heaven surrounding you, ready to fight on your behalf against every plot. You need only rest in my love, let faith rise, and let the eyes of your spirit behold that those who are with us are more than those who are with them. I also remind you to guard your heart from bitterness, for resentment is the soil the enemy longs to use to sow his seeds of cursing. Forgive not because the other is worthy, but because you are worthy of freedom. When you lay down the burden of anger, your hands become light to receive new blessings. Forgiveness is the key that opens the door for grace to pour down in abundance. Do not let yourself be imprisoned in the cell others have built with their harmful words. Step out, for I have already broken every lock. Nurture your life in worship. Sing out melodies even when the night presses in all around you. For when your lips praise, the very atmosphere around you shifts. Darkness cannot endure the sound of my glory, and it must retreat. Praise is a mighty weapon, a banner unfurled in the midst of battle, signaling that victory is already won. When you sing, you are not merely reminding yourself, but proclaiming to the whole spiritual realm that I am king, and you are the heir to my throne. Clothe yourself fully in the armor I give you from head to toe. Leave nothing uncovered, for the enemy always seeks a gap to enter. The belt of truth will keep you from stumbling. The breastplate of righteousness will guard your heart. The shield of faith will quench every flaming arrow. The helmet of salvation will protect your mind, and the sword of the Spirit will give you strength to strike. Each day prepare carefully, for the unseen battle never ceases. But do not be afraid, for the victory has already been decided. My child, walk not by sight, but by faith. For the natural eye sees only the darkness, but faith beholds my glory drawing near. Keep that hope like a lamp burning bright, never extinguished. When you feel weary, come to me. I will renew your strength, so that you rise on wings like an eagle, run and not grow tired, walk and not faint. Let your heart beat in rhythm with my word, so that each step you take is in safety and hope, my beloved child. Now let your heart grow still, like a lake after rain, so you may hear my breath gliding over the shores of your soul. Do not rush to fight the memories that once pierced you, nor try to hide the scars you thought were shameful. Place them all into my hands. I do not grimace at the old wounds upon your heart. I touch them as the potter touches the marks on the clay vessel to shape it into something stronger. On some days you whisper, "Why do the heavy words of others shake me so deeply?" I answer, because you have been too quick to believe earthly voices and forgotten the tone of the voice from heaven. But today I teach you a new rhythm of breath. Inhale truth, exhale peace. Receive what I say about you, and return to the darkness the silence it deserves. Draw near and sit at my feet, as a child leans against the arm of a father. In that place, fear loses its meaning, and the storm in your chest becomes a gentle wind on the roof. Do you realize that each time you call me with a simple heart, unseen doors swing open? Not because your merits pile up like a mountain, but because my goodness does not rest on a scorecard. I have set a sure path for you, and I have pressed upon your forehead the seal that says, "You belong to me." When a person is accused, the first need is a righteous advocate. When a soul is crushed by harsh words, the first need is the defender, who stands beside you, placing his hand on your shoulder and saying, "I am here." I am that one. In the invisible courtroom where every accusation strains to win, I rise, raise my hand, and the whole chamber falls silent. For my voice is not one opinion among thousands. It is the final verdict. You may say, "But I still feel heavy, as though the cords of the past are tied to my ankles." Then let me show you the path of release. First, name your fear for what it is. Do not avoid it. Do not paint it over. Bring it into the light. For what is brought into the light loses its rule. Next, invite me into the very center where fear resides. Do not leave me standing at the threshold of your life as a guest. Hand me the keys. When I enter, I do not only sweep the floors and open the windows, I rebuild the foundation, raise the walls, and lay a new base. Then practice a new habit. When bitter memories rise like waves, stand tall and speak aloud what I say about you. No ornate phrases are needed, only sincerity. You can say, I am loved, I am free, I am protected. These short sentences are like arrows flying through the night, striking the heart of the matter and breaking the barbed edge of old curses. I want you to learn an art that seems ancient, but is always new, the art of holy silence. There you do not argue with darkness, nor explain yourself to the noise. You sit still, letting your heart beat naturally, your breath steady, and listen for the thin stream flowing in the deepest place. That stream is my presence. When you recognize it, you will understand why it was once said, "Be still and know that I am God." In the silence, you do not flee reality. You step straight into its center with me, and then reality changes hue. Others may see the same scene, but you notice the crack in the wall where light enters. Others may hear the same threats, but you hear the loosening of chains. Silence sharpens your spiritual senses, enabling you to discern which voice is mine, which is the torment of memory, and which is the scheme of the enemy. Remember the paths you have walked. There were times you thought you had been left alone in a barren field. Yet if you look closely, you will see my footprints beside yours. There were times you counted the number of times you fell, but never counted the times I lifted you up. Try counting again. You will be surprised. Grace outweighs failure, mercy outweighs missteps, and heaven's patience outweighs man's judgments. Memories that have been cleansed will become a fortress wall. What once wounded you when touched by me becomes a stone to build a shelter for others. You are not defined by the wound. You are defined by the hand that healed it. I also speak to you about guarding the gate of your mouth. The tongue can set an entire forest ablaze, but it can also kindle a hearth to warm the night. Do not use your lips to repeat the poison of the past, even in your thoughts. Every time you rehearse it with bitterness, you sign a new invoice for it to take peace from your heart. Replace that habit with words of blessing first for yourself. This is not self-flattery, but truth. You are chosen, you are protected, you are of great worth. When you do this, you do not open the door to pride. You close the door to self-contempt. And you know self-contempt is a prison just as real as arrogant self-exaltation. I free you from both. I want you to learn a new kind of strength, the strength of meekness. Meekness is not weakness, it is power under control. You can stand in a thorny conversation and still keep your voice warm. You can look into the eyes of one who hurt you without letting your own eyes turn to blades. Meekness softens your face so that your opponent finds no target and words of attack lose their edge. You ask, how can I be meek in the face of injustice? I answer, because you know that I am the just judge. When you believe that you no longer feel compelled to win the verdict over yourself, you hand me the scales and your heart stops roaring. I teach you the discipline of arranging your mornings. Before the phone vibrates before work and people pour in like a flood, find a quiet place. Lay your hand on your chest, call my name, and slowly speak a short line. Today I walk with you. That alone becomes an invisible boundary. Then open the holy book not to collect words, but to meet me. Choose one verse, no more, and let it dissolve into your blood. For example, the Lord is my shepherd. Do not rush. Let each syllable flow through your mind into your heart and out through your hands. When you hold the steering wheel, that verse holds your hands. When you answer a hard message, that verse stands behind you. When someone brings up old wounds, that verse builds a wall around your ears. This is not a dry ritual. It is how I place my hand upon your forehead each morning and say, "Go, I am here." Walk in 3 rhythms: quick obedience, slow anger, and steady perseverance. Quick obedience, so you don't miss the small prompts. I whisper a call to make an apology, to speak an act of kindness, to sow at noon. Slow anger, so the enemy cannot ride your temper into the city. And perseverance, so that tomorrow still burns with today's fire. People often want lightning, but I usually work by dawn. Dawn does not dazzle, yet each minute it grows clearer, warmer, brighter. Your renewal is like that. Do not despise heaven's pace simply because it does not match the rush of advertising. Now I speak of forgiveness, a word that makes many sigh. Forgiveness is not denying the pain. It is agreeing to let me handle it my way. Forgiveness does not excuse the wrong. It frees you from sitting in someone else's courtroom. Forgiveness does not erase memory. It draws the poison from the memory. When you forgive, you let my hand lay a bandage on an unhealed wound. You may say, "But I don't feel like it." I understand. Then begin with a decision, and let the feelings follow slowly. Speak it aloud, even if only a whisper. I release that person to you. I will release that matter to you. Each time you say it, you push the boat farther from the old shore. The wind may turn and you may think the boat is drifting back. Do not fear, I am on the boat with you. I also want you to trust that heaven's supply is not scarce. One of the hooks curses like to cling to is the mindset of scarcity. I will not have enough. I will miss my chance. I will be robbed. When that mindset takes root, you become prone to envy, to clutching, to suspicion. Today I pour into you a different mindset, that of a steward. You are not a beggar. You are a keeper of my storehouse. When you give, you do not fall into lack. You open the valve. When you save, you do not hoard from fear. You manage with wisdom. When you work, you do not drain yourself to carve a place. You cooperate with the good plan unfolding. Each bill will be paid with peace instead of anxiety. Each door will open through obedience rather than manipulation. My child, do not stand alone on the battlefield. Seek out hearts that believe, that love, that desire to learn together. They do not need to be perfect, they need to be real. When you join hands in prayer, the atmosphere shifts. When you lift one another up, your back stands straighter. When you share bread and smiles, the room grows warmer. I have ordained my blessing to flow through the streams of community. The enemy delights in isolating you and whispering. No one understands you. He lies. I understand you, and I have already prepared brothers and sisters who know how to listen, how to weep with you, how to rejoice with you. Open your house, open your heart. There you will see stories once cursed, now becoming songs of thanksgiving. The next step I teach you is to keep your mind. Each day, thousands of images and words pour in. You cannot stop them all, but you can sift them. Ask, does this weigh my heart down or lift it up? Does it stir fear or awaken hope? Does it draw me away from me or closer to me? If it is heavy, fearful, drawing you away, cut it off. You do not need to hate it. Simply close the door. If it is light, hopeful, drawing you near, keep it. Post it on your wall. Write it in your journal. Set it as your ringtone if needed. I want your mind to be like a tended garden. Stones do not remove themselves. The gardener picks each one. Weeds do not uproot themselves. The gardener stoops down. But when the garden is tended, flowers bloom, fruit ripens, birds come to nest, and the garden begins to guard itself. At times you ask, what signs show that the old shackles are falling? Here are a few signs. Sleep becomes gentler, your breathing deeper, your reflex to anger slows, your sense of false guilt fades, and small joys sprout easily. This is no accident. It is the screws of the old door loosening. You will also find yourself ready to say thank you more often, not as a ritual but as a reflex. Gratitude is a bright bell. Each time it rings, the flock of fears scatters. Keep that bell. Write down 3 things each night. 1 thing you received, 1 thing you learned, 1 thing you will give. A page like this after 30 days becomes a sturdy bridge carrying you across the swamp once left by curses. Do not forget that I have given you my spirit to guide every decision. When you stand at a crossroads, do not merely weigh pros and cons. Incline your ear to the inner voice. Where is peace? Where does life rise? My peace is not the stillness before a storm. It is the compass within the storm. Often you will choose the road with fewer applause but full of light. Often you will walk slower than the crowd, but your heart will beat in a steady rhythm. Their curses find no foothold. There you cross the old season without dragging chains. I want you to train your soul in a personal song, not the melody of another, not borrowed lyrics, a song born from your own journey. It may be a simple line, "You are my portion forever." Hum it while washing dishes, while waiting for the bus, while walking under the trees. That song will be the red thread tying scattered days into a tapestry. When darkness prowls, the song flares like a spark. When weary, it warms your hands. When glad, it bursts like fireworks in your heart. And each time you sing, my kingdom is proclaimed right in the room where you stand. Stand up, smooth the hem of your courage, fasten the belt of truth, put on the helmet of hope, step forward, 1 step at a time without display. Heaven does not demand you run. Heaven invites you to endure. I have gone ahead of you on the long road. I walk behind you to guard your back. I am beside you to hold your hand. The voices that once screamed at you will thin like morning mist and vanish in the noonday Sunday. But my voice, once engraved upon your heart, will remain like a spring in your own well, never running dry. Drink and live. Believe and rest. Speak and see mountains move. For I am the unchanging one, and you are the one kept. And what I speak to you today, that you are free-guarded and led, will become the heartbeat of your days until your whole being sings along and every old chord falls like dry leaves from a branch in the evening wind. My child, lift up your eyes and see that the heavens have not closed over your life, but opened like a curtain drawn aside for you to step into glorious light. I want to tell you this: no accusation, no venomous voice from the past can define or hold you. You are not locked in the old room of curses. You are invited out into the garden of grace where blossoms never cease. Let your bare feet touch the new grass so you know the ground beneath you is no longer the stones of fear, but the soft carpet of peace. For I have turned the wilderness into an orchard, and where tears once flowed, now flows the river of rejoicing. Understand a secret: words hold the power to build or to tear down, but the final authority belongs to me. I am the one who created the heavens and the earth by my word, and I am the one who sustains you by that same word. When you hear the old echoes, do not let them take root. Take my word as seed scattered on the soil of your heart. Each morning water it with trust. Each night cover it with gratitude. Soon you will see another garden growing within you, the garden of truth, the garden of life, where no darkness can take root. You will find yourself singing in the night, not because the night is gone, but because the sun is certain to rise. Do not forget, victory does not come from your own strength, but from holding my hand. Like a child crossing a crowded street, you do not need to stop the cars yourself. You only need to trust the Father's hand. The enemy may erect frightening scenes, but as you cling, no power can harm you. For my hand does not tremble, my arm does not tire. I have split the sea for my people to cross. I have made walls fall with a shout. I have shut the mouths of lions and quenched the fire's power. So do not think a few bitter words from human mouths can outweigh my strength. Walk as one who has overcome. Live as one who has been set free. Do not forget, faith has a resonance. When you are with those who believe, faith multiplies. When you hear the testimony of another, the flame of trust within you blazes higher. Do not close yourself in loneliness, where old voices easily grow louder. Seek the community where praises rise, where stories of mercy are retold. There you will see that the enemy cannot divide. A single cord snaps easily, but three braided together are not quickly broken. So it is with you and those who share the faith. When you intercede for one another, when you remind each other of the promise, the wall of faith rises high, and in the shadow of that wall, the curse finds no way in. My child, I also give you another key. Remember the times when I intervened. Write them down, retell them, or sing of the moments when you were sinking and yet were lifted up. This is not nostalgia. This is how you build a reservoir of trust. Each memory told becomes a stone. Stone, laid upon stone, forms a stronghold. When storms arrive, you will look around and see those walls of remembrance, and you will be calm. You will say, "He has done it before, he will do it again." That very declaration pierces the lies of the enemy like an arrow. And I counsel you, do not seek signs in order to believe. Believe in order to see signs. You long for fresh evidence, yet I have already given enough. Every dawn that breaks is a sign. Every heartbeat in your chest is a sign. Every time you whisper, "Lord," and feel a warmth rise within, that too is a sign. Faith turns the ordinary into miracles. When you see life through the lens of trust, all things become a doorway for me to reveal my power. Then the curse no longer has a stage. Its theater has become the place of my glory. Regard faith as wings. You do not need to understand every current of wind, only to spread them wide. When the wind is strong, they lift you. When the wind is faint, they still carry you onward. Do not wait until you feel strong enough to fly. It is in the act of flying that faith gains strength. As the young eagle leaps from the cliff, trembling, yet borne by the wings it was born with, so shall you. Those wings are faith itself. When you stretch them, you will find yourself upheld by the breath of the Spirit. And then every curse beneath becomes only stones on the ground, unable to touch you. I remind you again, faith is not a charm to erase all hardships. It is the staff that leads you through the valley of the shadow of death without fear. It does not cancel trials, but it turns them into testimony. Each time you stand firm, it becomes a sign for the world to know that I am real. You were not saved for yourself alone. You are a living witness. Every scar healed upon you is my signature. Each step you take in trust is a banner planted in the territory of darkness, declaring that this land has been reclaimed. Therefore, live each day with a simple question. Today, what can I trust you for? It may be a small decision. It may be a great burden. Write it, speak it, hand it over to me. Then you will see that trust is no longer theory, but rhythm. You will walk more lightly, see life with different eyes, and you will realize that every curse has been undone the moment you placed your heart in the one who never changes. My beloved, this is the beginning of a new season. When you believe, you open the door for me to act. When you believe, you build a bridge between heaven and earth. When you believe, you turn the curse into soil for new life to spring forth. Keep on, though your eyes do not yet see it all. Keep on, for the one who promised is faithful. Faith will lead you into safety, will renew your soul, will set your feet upon the rock, will open before you skies, untouched by any curse. Faith is not merely the knowledge of the mind, but the choice of the heart. Many times you have said, "I know God is powerful, I understand He is good," yet when the storm comes, your heart trembles as if knowledge and trust were two separate roads. True faith is when you gather both intellect and emotion, lift them up, and place the burden in my hands. Then you do not merely know about me, you walk with me. Faith is not always blazing like a torch at noon. At times it is but an ember glowing faintly. Yet do not despise that smallness. I have said, if you have faith as a mustard seed, it is enough to move mountains. When you keep the tiny flame, I will breathe upon it, and it will burst into holy fire. Therefore do not compare yourself with others. Do not say your faith is too little. Each trembling step you take is still a step in the light. I remind you also, faith does not spare you from trials. Rather, it is refined within them. As gold must pass through the furnace, so must your trust pass through hardship to prove genuine. When you endure, you are not losing, you are being purified. Every scratch of today is proof of tomorrow's strength. Do not think I have forsaken you. I am standing in the fire with you as I stood with Daniel's friends, and the flame could not consume them. Learn to see trials as opportunities to prove your trust. When the storm rages, instead of asking, "Why?" ask, "How will I walk with you in this storm?" That change of sight turns you from victim to witness. And when you hold fast, heaven and earth alike will testify, you are a child of the Eternal One, shielded and upheld. So walk with a steadfast heart. Believe that my word is stronger than every curse. Believe that my love covers every wound. Believe that I am with you yesterday, today, and forever. Each step you take in trust is a proclamation. Darkness has no claim. Death has no chain, for you belong to me. My beloved child, I long to lead you into the deepest part of this journey of believing, where faith is no longer an idea, but your very breath, your heartbeat. This is the bridge that carries you from believing to receiving, from hoping to living in true freedom. I will speak long until each word seeps in like rain upon dry ground, until each image opens in your mind, until you feel faith, not as a burden, but as a wellspring of life overflowing. First, imagine faith as a long road winding through green meadows. With each step you take, that carpet of grass spreads wider. You cannot see the end of the road, yet you know my hand is guiding you. You no longer look at life as a maze, but as a journey with a clear destination, where at the road's end a door of eternity stands open. You can hear the wind carrying the fragrance of what is yet unseen. That is the promise waiting ahead. As you breathe in, you draw in the breath of hope. As you breathe out, you release the doubts that have taken root for so long. Faith is not a spell to force my will to match yours. Faith is trust that allows you to follow my will because you know it is good, even when you do not yet understand it. Do not confuse faith with control. When you believe, you no longer clutch the steering wheel of your life. You let it go to me, and I guide you into waters safer than you imagined. Like a child asleep in its mother's arms on a night train, you can rest peacefully in the storm, for I am watching over you. This is faith, a deep inner rest, unmoved by what eyes see or ears hear. I teach you a secret to strengthen your faith. Feed it with the Word. Just as the body needs bread, your soul needs the living words of Scripture. Do not read them as you would a newspaper. Drink them like water. Take each verse, chew it slowly, until it dissolves into life. When you face a situation, that word will rise within you like an underground spring. When darkness presses in, you will hear inside, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." That very word becomes a wall between you and fear. This is no ritual. This is how I infuse strength into you each day. Remember, faith is not your effort alone. It is a partnership between the Holy Spirit and your soul. When you are weak, the Spirit helps your weakness. When you do not know how to pray, He intercedes for you with groans too deep for words. When you do not know which way to go, He lights the path. He is the breath that keeps faith alive, preventing it from withering. Therefore, do not be afraid to admit your weakness before Him. Do not fear to say, "I believe. Help my unbelief." I do not reject that prayer. I rejoice in your honesty. The strength of faith shows itself in acts of love. Faith does not stand alone like a cold stone. It sends down roots and bears the fruit of love. When you forgive others, it is not mere morality. It is faith at work for you. Trust that I judge justly and care for you. When you help the weak, it is faith stepping outward for you. Believe that my resources never run dry. When you open your door to a stranger, it is faith in action for you. Trust that my angels encamp around you. In this way, faith and love weave together into an armor no weapon can pierce. I have one more thing to say. Think of faith as your breath. You do not wait until you are suffocating to breathe. You breathe continually. Faith is the same. Do not wait for a crisis to believe. Trust me in the smallest things. When you open your eyes in the morning, believe I hold that day. When you eat a simple meal, believe I provide. When you work, believe I guide. These small rhythms of trust build a strong heart. And when the storm comes, you will not need to learn faith in a rush. You will already be living in its rhythm. Faith is also a declaration against the curse. Each time you open your mouth and say, I trust you, you raise a shield. The poisoned arrow cannot pass through. It may howl outside, but inside you is a fortress. You stand in the storm, yet within is peace. You hear the noise, yet within is a holy melody. This is the power of faith, not erasing every sound, but changing the tone inside you, enabling you to stand until the skies clear. As you nurture faith in this way, the curses of the past lose their voice. They are like a wild beast, once fierce, but now chained and weakening with no roar left. You do not need to shout at it or argue. You need only stand in the light. That light is faith. And once you stand in the light, darkness has no shelter. All that once haunted you becomes evidence of my victory. Your very life becomes a song of triumph. He has been faithful. He has kept me. He has turned the curse into blessing. My child, you are standing on a mountaintop below you, the valley of the past, before you the horizon of hope. In your hand is a torch of faith. This torch is not self-lit. I have kindled it for you. The wind may blow, but the flame will not die. Lift that torch high, and its light will shine upon the road, not only for you, but for those behind you. They see you, they take courage, they follow. Thus your faith not only delivers you from the curse, it opens a path for others out of darkness. So my child, go down the mountain with that torch in your hand. Do not hide it in your cloak. Let it shine. Let faith become the sign by which all know that I live, that my word is not empty, that blessing is real. As you do this, no curse can hinder your steps. You have been set free to believe, and in that believing you are stepping into your inheritance, a heritage no darkness can steal, for it has been sealed with my very life. First, imagine faith as a long road winding through green meadows. With each step you take, that carpet of grass spreads wider. You cannot see the end of the road, yet you know my hand is guiding you. You no longer look at life as a maze, but as a journey with a clear destination, where at the road's end, a door of eternity stands open. You can hear the wind carrying the fragrance of what is yet unseen. That is the promise waiting ahead. As you breathe in, you draw in the breath of hope. As you breathe out, you release the doubts that have taken root for so long. Faith is not a spell to force my will to match yours. Faith is trust that allows you to follow my will because you know it is good, even when you do not yet understand it. Do not confuse faith with control. When you believe, you no longer clutch the steering wheel of your life. You let it go to me, and I guide you into waters safer than you imagined. Like a child asleep in its mother's arms on a night train, you can rest peacefully in the storm, for I am watching over you. This is faith, a deep inner rest unmoved by what eyes see or ears hear. I teach you a secret to strengthen your faith. Feed it with the Word. Just as the body needs bread, your soul needs the living words of Scripture. Do not read them as you would a newspaper. Drink them like water. Take each verse, chew it slowly, until it dissolves into life. When you face a situation, that word will rise within you like an underground spring. When darkness presses in, you will hear inside, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That very word becomes a wall between you and fear. This is no ritual. This is how I infuse strength into you each day. Remember, faith is not your effort alone. It is a partnership between the Holy Spirit and your soul. When you are weak, the Spirit helps your weakness. When you do not know how to pray, He intercedes for you with groans too deep for words. When you do not know which way to go, He lights the path. He is the breath that keeps faith alive, preventing it from withering. Therefore, do not be afraid to admit your weakness before Him. Do not fear to say, I believe. Help my unbelief. I do not reject that prayer. I rejoice in your honesty. The strength of faith shows itself in acts of love. Faith does not stand alone like a cold stone. It sends down roots and bears the fruit of love. When you forgive others, it is not mere morality. It is faith at work for you. Trust that I judge justly and care for you. When you help the weak, it is faith stepping outward for you. Believe that my resources never run dry. When you open your door to a stranger, it is faith in action for you. Trust that my angels encamp around you. In this way, faith and love weave together into an armor no weapon can pierce. I have one more thing to say. Think of faith as your breath. You do not wait until you are suffocating to breathe. You breathe continually. Faith is the same. Do not wait for a crisis to believe. Trust me in the smallest things. When you open your eyes in the morning, believe I hold that day. When you eat a simple meal, believe I provide. When you work, believe I guide. These small rhythms of trust build a strong heart. And when the storm comes, you will not need to learn faith in a rush. You will already be living in its rhythm. Faith is also a declaration against the curse. Each time you open your mouth and say, I trust you, you raise a shield. The poisoned arrow cannot pass through. It may howl outside, but inside you is a fortress. You stand in the storm, yet within is peace. You hear the noise, yet within is a holy melody. This is the power of faith, not erasing every sound, but changing the tone inside you, enabling you to stand until the skies clear. As you nurture faith in this way, the curses of the past lose their voice. They are like a wild beast, once fierce, but now chained and weakening with no roar left. You do not need to shout at it or argue. You need only stand in the light. That light is faith. And once you stand in the light, darkness has no shelter. All that once haunted you becomes evidence of my victory. Your very life becomes a song of triumph. He has been faithful. He has kept me. He has turned the curse into blessing. My child, you are standing on a mountaintop below you, the valley of the past, before you, the horizon of hope. In your hand is a torch of faith. This torch is not self-lit. I have kindled it for you. The wind may blow, but the flame will not die. Lift that torch high, and its light will shine upon the road, not only for you, but for those behind you. They see you, they take courage, they follow. Thus your faith not only delivers you from the curse, it opens a path for others out of darkness. So my child, go down the mountain with that torch in your hand. Do not hide it in your cloak, let it shine. Let faith become the sign by which all know that I live, that my word is not empty, that blessing is real. As you do this, no curse can hinder your steps. You have been set free to believe, and in that believing you are stepping into your inheritance, a heritage no darkness can steal, for it has been sealed with my very life. My beloved child, I long to lead you deeper into believing, not as a mere concept, but as the very breath you draw lifeblood coursing through the veins of your soul. All I have spoken in the previous passages was only the gateway. This is the wide courtyard where you may walk experience and let faith take on a tangible form within you. Do not think of faith as a luxury reserved for the extraordinary. Faith is the inheritance of all my children, given freely, like the air, like the light of dawn. When you stretch out your hands to receive, you cross into a realm where the old curse can no longer hold a place. Child, I want you to picture faith as an ancient tree growing in the public square of your life. At first, it is only a tender shot trembling in the wind. Yet each day you water it with my promises, feed it with thanksgiving, pull up the weeds of doubt, shield it from the acid rains of deception, and it grows. Its roots drive deep into the soil of truth. Its trunk rises toward the sky of hope. Its branches spread shade for weary souls. When storms come, it does not break, it only sways. When darkness gathers, its shadow pushes fear away. And one day its fruit ripens, not only for you but for many others. This is the image of mature faith. You see, faith is not an abstract notion. It is life sprouting within you, a daily process. My child, faith does not mean you will understand everything. It is precisely when you do not understand yet still walk on that faith shines forth. Like Abraham, who went without knowing where he would arrive, like Mary, who received the angel's word without knowing the road ahead, like Peter, who stepped out of the boat not knowing if the water would hold him. Faith is daring to step before you see the bridge because you trust the one who promised is faithful. Remember this, you are not leaping into a void without a hand to catch you. You are stepping onto the path I have already laid. At times you may think faith is blind risk. In truth, faith is the most lucid decision for you. Set your foot upon an unshakable rock. Child, in every battle of the soul, faith is both shield and sword. When the old curses rise, you need not argue with them. You lift up the shield of faith. Poisoned arrows strike and die out. When deception tries to slip into your mind, you draw the sword, my word, to cut off its roots. This is not ritual, but the way you exercise the authority already given to you. You are not a victim of the unseen realm. You are a citizen of the kingdom of light, entrusted with the right to stand firm. Practice that right daily, not only when storms rage. Every confession of trust, every scripture you declare, every choice to believe rather than fear, all are training motions, strengthening the muscles of your faith. My beloved, faith cannot be severed from love. If faith is the root, love is the sap. Without love, faith grows rigid and cold. With love, faith becomes supple yet enduring. When you forgive, faith is at work for you. Trust my just judgment. When you bless those who harmed you, faith steps out. For you trust my storehouse of blessing never runs dry. When you give while still in lack, faith stretches for you. Trust I will supply. Thus each act of love is a moment when faith grows and the curse withers like a dry leaf. Child, I also want you to know that faith has a memory. Every time I rescue you, every time you taste my kindness, remember, do not let those memories drift away like the wind. Write them, tell them, sing them. This is how you build a storehouse. When the hard day comes, you open it and find strength. As David once said, the lion and the bear I struck down, this Philistine will be like them. This is how faith leans on past deliverance to face new challenges. Do the same, use this evidence to shatter today's curse. My child, faith is also a sound. Do not let your mouth stay silent before lies. Speak out, I trust you. Speak out, you are my stronghold. Speak out, no weapon formed against me shall prevail. When you speak, that sound reverberates through the unseen realm. A curse is like darkness. Light does not argue with darkness, it appears, and darkness flees. The voice of your faith is that light. Do not wait for feeling to speak. Speak and let feeling follow. This is the principle of my kingdom. Faith is a rhythm of life. You do not breathe once and stop. You breathe all day. You do not believe once and stop. You believe each hour. When you open your eyes, trust that I hold you. When you eat, trust that I provide. When you work, trust that I guide. When you sleep, trust that I guard. This is the lifestyle of trust. Do not wait for a crisis to believe. Believe in the smallest things. These small beats form a healthy heart that will keep you standing when storms break. Child, when faith becomes your way of life, the curse loses its power. It is like a bird striking a window pane, noisy, but it cannot get through. It is like an echo from the past drowned out by the song of the present. You do not need to strain to silence it. You need only let the voice of your faith rise louder. Then the peace I give will surpass all understanding, guarding your heart and mind, keeping you unshaken. My child, I want you to look beyond yourself. The faith you are nurturing is not only for your freedom, it opens a path for others. When they see you stand firm, they take courage. When they hear you tell of the times I delivered you, they believe I can deliver them too. When they see you forgive, they believe forgiveness is possible. In this way, your faith becomes a light to guide. This is part of the greater plan I have for you to make you a living testimony of my faithfulness. Child, picture yourself standing on a high plateau, the wind blowing strong but the sky clear. In your hand is the torch of faith I have kindled. The wind cannot extinguish it. The more it blows, the brighter the flame burns. You lift that torch high, and its light streams down into the dark paths below, leading many souls out of the shadows. You need not shout, "I have faith." The light speaks for itself. And as you keep walking forward, the curse can no longer follow you. It stays behind in the old valley while you ascend to a new summit. My beloved, this is what I want you to engrave in your heart. Faith is not an ornament for display. It is the road, the armor, the breath, the heartbeat. When you live by faith, you are not only protected, you are transformed. You do not merely escape the curse, you become one who brings blessing. You do not merely preserve yourself, you become a fountain for another generation. This is the portion I have appointed for you. You will believe, you will receive, you will live. And as you stand in that flow, the darkness will retreat, and the light will spread not as a passing flash, but like dawn, advancing each day brighter than the last. Child, the next thing you must learn is to receive. Faith opens the door, but receiving is stepping through the threshold. Many believe in me, yet still live in want because they have not learned to stretch out their hands for the portion prepared for them. To believe without receiving is like seeing the banquet, but never sitting down to eat. Like standing before a cool spring, but never bending to drink. Like holding a check in your hand, but never bringing it to the bank to draw out its value. My child, do not stop at knowing. Move into experiencing. Do not only watch from afar, come near and take hold. Receiving is not a greedy posture. Receiving is the expression of trust that I truly desire to give. Many are afraid to receive, thinking themselves unworthy. But I ask, if you are not worthy, why did I come into the world? If you had to amass merit before you could receive, then the death of my son would have no meaning. It is precisely because you are not enough that I give. It is precisely because you are weak that I lift you up. It is precisely because you are wounded that I heal you. So why do you shrink back when I stretch out my hand? Remember this, grace is not for the perfect. Grace is the medicine for the broken. Learning to open your heart is not easy, because it has learned to curl in on itself for protection. You have been hurt, you have had your trust betrayed, you have seen hands extended only to be withdrawn. So now when I stretch out my true hand, you doubt. But look into my eyes. I am not like man, I do not deceive. I do not make empty promises. What I have spoken I will do. What I have promised I will keep. You no longer need to keep your heart locked, for with me there is no betrayal. I do not take back the gift I have given. I do not revoke the word I have spoken. I only desire you to open your hands, so I may place into them what I have prepared. Picture yourself as an earthen vessel. A vessel that would be filled must first have its lid removed. If it stays closed, the fragrant oil poured on it will spill away, never settling inside. So it is with your soul. When you cling to old wounds, shame, and preconceptions, you are keeping the lid sealed. Open it. Yes, opening may make you feel exposed, vulnerable, but it is precisely then that my flow can pour in. When the oil of grace is poured, the cracks in the vessel are not your shame. They become the openings through which the fragrance spreads. Receiving is not only for your own blessing. When you receive, you become a river rather than a pond. I bless you so that through you blessing flows to others. When you receive forgiveness, you more easily forgive. When you receive peace, you spread calm to the troubled. When you receive provision, you give generously. This is how my kingdom advances through people who know how to receive and how to give. If you think you must not receive, for fear of selfishness, you misunderstand. Refusing to receive is the true selfishness, for when you refuse, the stream of blessing cannot travel farther. Child, there is one more thing I want you to understand. Receiving does not mean waiting passively. Receiving is an active opening of the heart, readiness, and walking in obedience. You cannot say, I receive peace while clinging to old anxieties. You cannot say, I receive healing while gripping bitterness. You cannot say, I receive freedom while choosing to live in chains. Receiving is agreeing to let go of the old to make room for the new. Like a farmer must clear the stones from the field before seed can grow, you must allow me to take away what does not belong to you, so that I may place within you what is truly mine. In my kingdom, receiving is not a single moment, but a daily refrain. Do not think you have received enough simply because one day you knelt and prayed. Each morning, as the sun rises, new blessings are ready. Each night as you close your eyes, new grace covers you. I never cease to give, and you must never cease to receive. Just as Israel once gathered manna each morning, so must you open your hands every day. Not because I am stingy and only give in fragments, but because I desire you to learn the rhythm of dependence, so you will never forget that the source of life is not in you, but in me. Do not let shame keep you from receiving. All this time the enemy has whispered in your ear, you are unworthy, you are guilty, you are ruined. But I declare, you are a new creation. The old has passed away, all things have become new. When you believe this, you will dare to receive. Remember, it is not you who make yourself worthy, but the blood shed for you. Do not dishonor that blood by refusing a gift purchased at so high a cost. Each time you turn away, it is as though you say the sacrifice was not enough. But when you receive, you honor it, you confirm that what my Son has done is complete. Learn the practice of confessing with your lips. Say, I receive forgiveness. Say, I receive peace. Say, I receive protection. When you speak it, the words carve deep into your mind, creating a new rhythm. Old curses fade, for your mouth is filled with declarations of the Spirit. Do not wait for the feeling before you speak. Speak, and the feeling will follow. This is how you dig channels for the river of blessing to flow. I also want you to practice receiving through the community. When others pray for you, when a brother lays a hand on your shoulder, do not close yourself off and think, it is only me and God. That is enough. I have designed the spiritual body so that grace flows from one to another. When you receive through them, it is not weakness, it is humility. When you accept encouragement, support, or a gift, you acknowledge that I can act through anyone. Do not shut the door, for it is that very closing which impoverishes the soul. My child, learn to receive with all 5 senses. When you hear, listen as though heaven itself is speaking. When you see, perceive my signs in every detail. When you taste, savor the sweetness of blessing. When you touch, feel the nearness of my presence. When you breathe, remember, each breath is a new grace. This is how receiving becomes a way of life, not a passing moment. Beloved one, the beginning of receiving is letting go, and the height of receiving is giving back. You do not receive to hoard, but to release. As you give, you open space to receive even more. This is the spiral of grace. Receive, give, receive, give. And in that spiral, you are swept into the rhythm of the kingdom. No curse can intrude, for your whole life is turning within the current of blessing. Now I will lead you one step further in the journey of receiving, not only opening your hands, but learning to open your spirit, your mind, and your body, until the flow of grace saturates every hidden place. This message will be long because I want you to sit quietly and listen like the thirsty sitting beside a deep well, lowering the bucket again and again until filled. You once thought receiving was a momentary act, reaching out, taking a gift, putting it away. But truly, receiving is continuous. It is a way of living. It is like breathing. No one breathes once and stops. You breathe every moment so that life may continue within you. So it is with receiving my grace. It is a daily, hourly rhythm. Every minute you live, you must open your heart to receive, because if you close it, the soul withers like a tree cut off from its sap. My child, I have prepared for you many layers of blessing, but each layer opens only when you are willing to receive. One layer is forgiveness, another peace, another healing, another wisdom, another endurance. It is like one who enters a treasury not to take a single gem and leave, but to pass from chamber to chamber, opening chest after chest, discovering abundance. Do not stop at forgiveness alone. Yes, it is a great beginning, but there are countless other treasures awaiting. I want you to go deeper, not stand at the doorway. Receiving requires humility. For mankind longs to prove itself, to carry its own weight, to build its own merit. But to receive is to admit you are not enough, that all things come from beyond yourself. When you dare to say, I cannot but, you can, then the river begins to flow. When you stop striving to save yourself, salvation seeps deep. When you release your obsession with control, peace comes rushing in. Receiving never makes you weak. Rather, it makes you strong because it binds you to the endless source. I want you to practice receiving by speaking it aloud. When you say, I receive peace, it is like opening a window for light to enter. You do not create the light, you simply open the shutters. The light is already there. You do not manufacture blessings, you only open the heart. The blessing was prepared before the dawn of creation. Each time you say, I receive, you are agreeing to let me reign. That is the power of confession. You are not speaking to reassure yourself. You are proclaiming to heaven and earth that you are ready to embrace what I give. Let me remind you of this wonder. Some things I give are not meant to be kept, but to overflow. If you receive healing, do not guard it as a secret within your chest. Let it become testimony for others. If you receive peace, bring it into your family, into your workplace, into every conversation. If you receive forgiveness, extend it to those who wronged you. For blessings only remain full when they are shared. A pool is clear only when streams flow in and out. When blocked, it becomes stagnant. You are called to be a river flowing without end. My beloved, one of the hardest things is to receive by letting go. You are used to holding on to what is old, the wounds, the memories, the habits, because you think they are part of your identity. But I tell you, release them. You cannot hold, refuse, and receive gold at the same time. You cannot clutch ashes and receive perfume. Hand me what has decayed, so your hands may be empty. Then you will see me place into them something new, radiant, and pure. This is not loss. This is a wondrous exchange. Child, remember this. To receive is also to dare to believe that I want you joyful. Many think I only allow you to endure, to bear, to persevere. But I have said I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. Joy, laughter, and lightness, these are also part of blessing. Do not be afraid to welcome joy as a holy gift. When you laugh from deep within, you honor the one who created laughter. When you enjoy a quiet sunset, you are receiving grace. When you sit among friends and feel your heart grow warm, that too is a blessing. Accept these things, for they are signs of my nearness. Do not compare your receiving with that of others. The enemy loves to sow envy. That one receives more, you receive less. But child, blessings are not distributed alike, for every path is different. Focus on what I give to you. I know what you need. I know the right moment. If you wait, do not think you are forgotten. Know that the season has not yet come. When the time is ripe, the blessing will fall like rain upon the seed that is yours, and you will see how perfectly everything fits. To receive, you must train your mind. Think about what is true, bright, noble, and worthy of praise. Do not let negative streams take up the space. For the mind is the first doorway. If you leave that door dusty, then when blessing comes, it cannot pass through. Cleanse your thoughts daily. When you feel yourself sinking into worry, stop and say, I choose to trust. When you feel the old memories replaying, stop and say, I choose to release. Each small decision is another time you open your heart wider to receive. Receiving is an act of humility. Do not think yourself so strong that you need no one to intercede for you, no community to uphold you. I formed the church as a body. A single member cannot live cut off from the whole. When you accept encouragement, intercession, and sharing from brothers and sisters, you are not weak. You are living in the design. And through this you will see my blessing flow, not limited to one lifetime, but moving from generation to generation. I am setting before you a banquet. On the table are the sweet bread of peace, the wine of joy, the oil of healing, the meat of strength, the fruit of the Spirit. You do not have to stand at a distance. You are invited to sit. Do not fear, do not hesitate, do not think yourself unworthy. You are the honored guest. Your place has been reserved with your name before the dawn of time. Sit, take, eat, drink, be filled. This is how you receive it. And when you rise, you will walk with new strength, new light, and new hope. My child, I want you to see this truth: receiving is communion. When you receive from me, it is not only an object, a gift, a blessing. Receiving is stepping into the rhythm of my heart. Each time you open yourself, you are moving deeper into the father-child bond, creator, creature, source, receiver. Receiving is the doorway joining my boundless love to your fragile existence. You do not only become one who is given to, but one who shares my table. And when you are at my banquet, no curse can intrude, no darkness can sit beside you. Do not underestimate the power of saying, I receive. It is not mere speech, but a declaration against every lie of the enemy. It is like an heir signing to confirm the inheritance already prepared. The estate is there. It only needs the signature to make it yours. So too, when you confess, you are confirming the spiritual rights sealed for you in the eternal covenant. When you open your mouth, angels record, the unseen realm acknowledges, and the adversary is forced to retreat. Receiving is not straining to grasp, but yielding so I may place it into your hands. Like a child lifting its arms for its father's candy, it does not worry about supply. It does not calculate if the father has enough. It simply trusts and holds out its hands. You too must learn the simplicity of a child. Do not overanalyze. Do not let reason bind you. Open your heart like a child, and I will pour into you far more than you ask. My son once said, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a little child shall not enter it. This is the lesson: receive with a guileless heart, without doubt, without barriers. Be watchful, for the enemy knows the power of receiving. He is not afraid when you believe only in theory. He trembles when you begin to receive and live in blessing. That is why he sows shame, whispers, you are not worthy. He makes you think you must wait longer, improve enough, atone long enough before you may receive. But I tell you, the blood of my Son is sufficient, complete, finished. You do not need to wait to meet the standard. You only need to open your hands and receive today. All has been paid. Child, receiving does not stop at material blessings, but extends to inner transformation. When you receive forgiveness, your heart is freed from resentment. When you receive peace, your mind is released from turmoil. When you receive love, you begin to see others through my eyes. Thus, receiving not only fills you, it changes your very nature. You are no longer the old one chained to the past, but a new creation living in a constant flow. My beloved child, I want you to practice receiving as a holy discipline. Each morning, as soon as you awaken, whisper, "I receive your new mercy." Each time you sit down to eat, say, "I receive your provision." When you are about to step into a challenge, declare, "I receive strength from you." And when night falls, breathe, "I receive rest in your arms." In this way, your entire day will be woven into a tapestry of receiving, and your soul will stay fresh like a tree planted by streams of water, whose leaves never wither and whose work always prospers. Do not receive only for yourself. Let receiving turn you into a channel. When I pour blessing into you, pour it out. When I heal you, pray for the wounded. When I comfort you, comfort the grieving. When I give you wisdom, teach the simple. The more you flow out, the more you are filled. The more you share, the more you receive. The more you receive, the more you share. This spiral never ends, for its source is me, the one who never runs dry. Child, receive even small things. Do not wait for great miracles to call it receiving. When a friend smiles at you, take it as grace. When a cool breeze moves through a hot day, take it as a gift. When you find a line in Scripture that makes your heart burn, take it as sweet bread. This awareness in the small things makes you sensitive to the greater ones. If you despise the little, you will miss the magnificent. Sometimes receiving happens in pain. There are moments when you think you are losing, but in truth you are being given something deeper. When you release a loved one to me, you are receiving a comfort no one else can offer. When you lose an old job, you are receiving the new opportunity I prepared. When you go through disappointment, you are receiving a costly lesson that builds your faith. Do not think that receiving happens only when your hands are full. Sometimes it happens when your hands are empty, but your soul overflows. Train yourself to see yourself through my eyes, so that receiving becomes easier. You see yourself weak, but I see you strong in me. You see yourself ordinary, but I see you destined for high purpose. You see yourself lost, but I see your name engraved on my hand. When you begin to see yourself as I see you, you will not hesitate to open your hands. You will receive not out of arrogance, but out of humility, because you trust my voice more than the voice of your own self-accusation. Understand this: to receive is to live inside the covenant. Each time you receive, you are affirming that the covenant still stands. You are saying, your word is true, your promise is sure, your blood covenant is unbreakable. And as you keep receiving, that covenant becomes a wall of fire around you, a hedge of thorns against the enemy, a fortress no curse can cross. Therefore, do not merely watch my outstretched hand, take hold. Do not only hear the invitation, step in. Do not only believe there is blessing, receive the blessing. Do not only dream of abundant life, let it flow through you. What I give is not a distant dream, but a living reality sealed by blood, guaranteed by resurrection, and unfolding day by day within you. My beloved, I am calling you into a new chapter, live. You have believed in me, you have opened your heart to receive what I give, but all of this reaches fullness when you let faith and receiving become the living breath of your days on earth. Faith is the root, receiving is the flow, but living is the fruit. When a seed is sown, it must rise, must blossom, must bear. If it stays hidden in the soil, it remains only potential. So it is with you. Faith and blessing already lie within you, but I call you to let them manifest, spread, and become visible in every choice, every step, every word and action. Child, living in me does not mean merely existing, breathing, and passing through time. Living in me is knowing that every moment carries eternal weight. When you eat, eat as one savoring a gift from heaven. When you work, work as one serving the one who gives strength. When you speak, let your words be the fragrance of grace. When you walk out your door, remember that every step carries light somewhere. Living is turning the ordinary into the sacred, because you know I am in each second. Living in me means letting faith take shape. Faith is not an abstract theory. It must be embodied. When you forgive the one who harmed you, you are living in faith that I am the righteous judge. When you share with the needy, you are living in faith that I am the inexhaustible source. When you choose truth over convenient lies, you are living in faith that I am the light on your path. This is spiritual life, not waiting for heaven to begin, but walking already today in eternal light through small daily choices. Many think living means indulging and seizing every chance to satisfy themselves. But I say true living is when your soul beats in rhythm with my will. Then your joy no longer comes from fleeting things, but from knowing you are on the right path and purpose. Then your peace no longer depends on circumstance, but on my presence covering you. Then your sufficiency no longer comes from possessions, but from the certainty that I care for every need. Living in me is standing on an unshakable foundation, even if the earth trembles and the sea roars. Child living means reflecting. As the moon does not shine by itself, but reflects the sun, you are called to reflect the light of Christ. Others will see in you a light not of this world, the light of kindness, of forgiveness, of unfading hope. Each time you smile at the desperate, each time you show patience to the difficult, each time you speak encouragement, instead of criticism, you are shining that light. And the darker the night, the clearer the glow. Do not think you must do something grand to bear witness. Simply live each small thing fully with love, and the light will blaze. Remember, living in me is walking by faith, not by sight. Many times you cannot see the road ahead, yet you keep moving because you know I am leading. Life is not about having every answer, but about continuing to walk, even when the answers have not yet come. Just as Israel journeyed through the wilderness not knowing what tomorrow would bring, yet each day manna fell from heaven, so it is with you. You do not need to behold the whole future. You only need to trust that I hold tomorrow. When you walk this way, you are moving in a heavenly rhythm where each day becomes a miracle. My child, living also means learning to rest. Many think that life means constant doing, seizing every second to achieve as much as possible. But living in me is not a race to be run, it is a walk of rest. You may pause, breathe deeply, and know that I am still at work, even while you are still. As a tree does not strain to grow, but simply sinks its roots deep, and then naturally buds, so you, when you root yourself in me, will see life blossom without striving. Spiritual life is not about exertion, but about yielding to my presence so that I bear fruit in you. To live in me is to live truthfully. You do not need to pretend to be strong when you are weak to hide your tears, when you are hurting, or to appear perfect in order to be loved by me. Living in me is daring to be honest with yourself, with me, and with others. When you weep, weep before me. When you rejoice, rejoice in me. When you fall, rise again in my grace. This authentic life makes you free, for you no longer carry masks. And that very authenticity draws others closer to me, for they will see that the light within you is not self-made but born of my indwelling. Living in me is a daily choice, not a single decision in the past, but each morning when you open your eyes and say, "Today I choose to live for you." Every time you face temptation, you choose obedience. Every time you stand before fear, you choose trust. Every time you encounter disappointment, you choose hope. Spiritual life is a tapestry woven of choices, and each choice stitches a pattern into eternity. As you are faithful in the small, you are weaving a beautiful design into the whole fabric. To live in me also means to live for others. When you shoulder a brother's burden, when you pray for the weak, when you share your bread with the hungry, you are living out my love. Life is not to be clenched and kept, but to be poured out. And as you pour, you receive even more. This is the secret of spiritual life. The more you give, the fuller you become. The more you offer, the more you receive. The more you serve, the more you are lifted up. Living also means gratitude. The grateful are those who truly live. When you notice a small blessing and lift up thanks, you are living in light. When you meet hardship, yet keep a thankful heart, you are living in faith. Gratitude turns everything into a miracle. A simple meal becomes a banquet. A small home becomes a sacred shelter. An ordinary day becomes evidence of heavenly care. Living in gratitude is living in a fullness the world cannot take away. Remember, living in me is living with hope. Without hope, you only exist. With hope, you rise. Hope is the anchor of your soul in the storm. Hope is the lamp still burning in the night. When you hold to my promise, you will stand firm until the end. And that hope makes your life different, causing others to look at you and ask, how can you be at peace in the storm? Then you become a living witness of my presence. My beloved, this is the meaning of life, not merely prolonging breath, but letting every breath move in rhythm with heaven, not merely passing through days, but turning each day into an opportunity to reflect glory, not merely holding blessings for yourself, but becoming a river that flows. And when you live this way, the curses of the past will lose their hold. You will find yourself not only freed from bondage, but entering into the abundant life, the rich life, the life I have prepared. When I speak to you about living in me, I am not calling you to walk in a few sacred moments and then return to an old life. I am calling you to make your whole life a continuous stream of communion, so that every moment from the smallest task to the greatest decision reflects my light. This is the secret of spiritual life. It is not confined to church walls, to prayer hours, or to feast days, but it spills into every breath, every glance, every step you take. Many have stopped at believing and receiving, but have not yet learned how to live. They are like one who stands before a banquet knowing the food is prepared, believing they are invited, but only looking without sitting down. Believing and receiving bring you into the hall, but living is to sit, to break the bread, to drink the wine, and be filled. If you only believe and receive, but do not live, you remain hungry at the table. I do not want you merely to know of the blessing. I want you to taste it. I do not want you only to hear of freedom. I want you to live free. To live means letting faith become action. Faith in the mind is easy. Faith on the lips is light, but faith in life is truly firm. When you choose to speak kindness instead of harshness, that is life. When you take time to listen to the weak, that is life. When you dare to stand for what is right, even at a cost, that is life. And these small acts carry great power, for they reveal that you trust me more than you trust the values of this world. Each act of love you do is a stone, building a strong spiritual fortress. My child, living is learning to treasure the present. The past has passed, the future has not yet come, the present is where I am. When you are absorbed in regret over what is behind or anxious for what is ahead, you miss the chance to live today. But I declare to you, this is the day that I have made. Rejoice and be glad in it. Do not wait for a perfect day to live, for the perfect day has already been given to you, the very day in which I am with you. Learn to discover meaning in the smallest moments, the smile of a child, a flower by the roadside, a heartfelt thank you. All these are signs that I am near. Living in me does not mean your life will be without suffering. True living is daring to face suffering in my presence. When you weep, I am there to wipe your tears. When you fall, I extend my hand to lift you up. When you lose your way, I lead you home. Living in me is knowing that suffering does not have the final word. It is only a passing chapter. The last chapter is always glory. You may think the darkness surrounds you, but I say, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. When you live in this truth, you turn your tears into seeds for tomorrow's joy. My child, living is also bringing hope into the world. People look around and see disappointment, injustice, and shattered goals. But when they meet you, they must see hope, not because you create it yourself, but because my hope flows through you. Every time you encourage someone, you are sowing hope. Every time you hold peace in the midst of chaos, you are pointing to an unshakable foundation. Every time you sing praise in adversity, you are proving that darkness cannot defeat the light. This is the life I long for you to embody, a life that transforms the atmosphere around you. To live fully, you must learn to rest in grace. Life is not endless running, striving, or proving. Living in me is pausing to realize that the great work is already finished. You do not have to race to earn my love. You already have it. You do not have to exhaust yourself to prove your worth. Your worth has been sealed in blood. When you rest, you truly live. Like the birds who do not worry over every seed, like the lilies of the field who do not strive to be beautiful, they simply live and beauty and provision come to them. So it is with you. When you lay down your burdens, you will live in radiant freedom. The world teaches you to wear masks, the mask of strength, the mask of success, the mask of wisdom. But I say, come to me with your bare heart. You need not pretend before me. You may be weak, afraid, or uncertain, and I still love you. True living is laying aside the mask, daring to confess your weakness, allowing me to transform you from within. When you live truthfully, you gain freedom and become a refuge where others find comfort. They will see that it is precisely in weakness that my power is revealed. I want you to understand that living in me is living for others. You cannot say you truly live if you close yourself off. Real life is life given away. When you give, you are living. When you intercede, you are living. When you carry another's burden, you are living. For the nature of life is movement. A river lives as long as it flows. A stagnant pond dies when it closes in on itself. Become the river, letting my blessing flow through you to refresh the land and nourish many souls. There will be times when living means persevering. You will see dry seasons, you will walk through dark nights, you will pass through valleys. But if you stand firm, if you do not give up, you will emerge brighter, stronger, deeper. I use trials as fire to refine gold. Living is not avoiding hardship, but walking through it with the confidence that I am beside you. As you do this, your life will shine like gold, refined, radiant, precious, enduring. My child, living in me is living with eternal hope. You are not living only for today or for tomorrow, but for all eternity. Every choice you make, every step you take, echoes into forever. When you forgive, heaven bears witness. When you love, the angels sing. When you hold your faith, all creation knows. This is life, letting each small act carry eternal weight. And as you live this way, no curse can hold you. No, for your life has been absorbed into my eternal life, a life that darkness cannot quench, death cannot swallow, and time cannot fade. My beloved, when you have entered into life in me, you are no longer merely existing. You are becoming a living testimony to the power, love, and faithfulness of the Creator. I do not call you to flare up for a moment and then burn out, but to let the flame within you burn continually, becoming a light for a generation. Therefore, I want you to understand clearly, living in me is not an abstract idea, but a concrete journey, a steady way of life, a stream that does not stop. My child, living is turning believing and receiving into fruit. If believing is the root and receiving is the sap, then living is the branches and the sweet fruit. Others may not see the root or the sap, but they will see the fruit. Your life is the fruit. When you forgive, it is the fruit of mercy. When you share it, is the fruit of kindness. When you hold hope in the night, it is the fruit of faith. Others will taste this fruit and will themselves hunger for the life that nourishes you. In this way, living in me is not only for you, but for those around you. Do not think that living in me means you must always be perfect, never making mistakes. Living does not mean never falling, but knowing how to rise, how to repent, how to return. When you stumble, yet rise again in grace, you are living. When you are wounded, but choose forgiveness, you are living. When you are betrayed, yet choose love, you are living. For true life is not found in avoiding every error, but in allowing me to turn every error into a testimony of my faithfulness. To live in me is to live with the posture of a traveler. You are passing through this world, but this is not your eternal home. Do not cling to the temporary as if it were eternal. Do not let your heart be weighed down by what soon fades away. Live lightly as one who knows the true homeland awaits ahead. When you live with an eternal vision, you will not be shaken by passing storms. You will see that every present suffering is but momentary weaving together an everlasting glory for you. To live is to keep gratitude as your very breath. The one who gives thanks is the one who knows how to live. When you are thankful for breath, for bread, for friends, for family, for the chance to learn, you are living. When you lift up thanksgiving, even in trial, you are living. Gratitude transforms every ordinary thing into a miracle. A simple meal becomes a sacred feast. A small house becomes a holy refuge. A plain conversation becomes a stream of presence. When you live in gratitude, darkness cannot enter, for the light of joy has already filled the chamber of your soul. My child, to live in me is to live within a community of love. You were not created to live in isolation. I have placed you within a greater body where each one is a member. When you are in a community, you learn to give and to receive. When you intercede for your brothers and sisters, you are living. When you receive their intercession, you are living. When you lift up the fallen, and when you let them lift you, that is life. It is this unity that becomes a strength no power can shatter. For where love and unity dwell, there I am present. And where I am present, no curse can remain. To live is to dare to dream the dreams I have planted. Many live without daring to dream, for they fear failure, fear pain, fear ridicule. But I say, dream with me. The dreams I sow in your heart are not illusions, but seeds for a harvest. When you dare to walk after vision, you are living. When you dare to sacrifice for a higher purpose, you are living. When you dare to endure loss for the sake of your calling, you are living. And those very dreams will bring forth an impact beyond your lifetime, flowing into generations to come. To live in me is to live in freedom. Freedom does not mean you do whatever you please, but that you are freed from the chains of sin, of fear, of curses. Freedom is when you are no longer bound by old prejudices, destructive voices, or heavy shame. When you lift your head knowing you are the child of the King, that is life. When you walk unafraid of the gaze of others, that is life. When you know you are loved unconditionally, and that love is greater than every condemnation, that is life. To live in me is to live with unending joy. Joy does not depend on circumstances, but springs from my presence within you. You may lose a job, yet rejoice knowing I provide. You may face sickness, yet rejoice knowing I heal and give eternal hope. You may be abandoned, yet rejoice knowing I will never forsake. That joy is the strength that carries you through storms, the flame that warms the soul, the living testimony to the world. When you live in that joy, darkness cannot endure, it must retreat. My child, to live in me is to live with an eternal vision. Every act you do today, every word you speak, every step you take, resounds into eternity. When you live in love, that echo endures. When you sow blessings, an eternal harvest blooms. When you hold firm in faith, heaven itself bears witness. And when your life is complete, others will see that you did not merely exist, but truly lived. Lived a life of meaning, lived a life reflecting glory, lived a life worthy of the one who called you. My beloved, now I want you to pause and behold the whole picture of the journey I have led you through to believe, to receive, to live. These three are not separate steps, but three beats of the same heart, three streams joining as one river, three strands woven into one enduring cord. Without one, the fullness falters. With all three united, you will stand firm through every storm and shine bright in the world. Imagine believing is like sowing a seed into the soil. Without faith, the seed is never sown. Receiving is like allowing that seed to drink in water, to draw in nutrients to begin sprouting. Without receiving, the seed lies dormant and never awakens. But living is when the seed has burst forth, grown strong, borne fruit, become shade and food for the hungry. If you only believe but do not receive, the seed remains asleep. If you believe and receive but do not live, the seed will rot in the ground. Only when all three unite does life erupt in fullness. My child, that is why I emphasize these three words are not a slogan but a law of spiritual life. To believe is the first step out of darkness. To receive is the second step into inheritance. To live is the third step into daily victory. When these three are bound together, your life can no longer be shaken by curse or scheme. The enemy may attempt to sow doubt, but your faith stands firm. He may spit out venom, but you have already received blessing. He may strike with trials, but you are already living in resurrection power. Remember the example of Abraham. He believed the promise, though he could not see it with his natural eyes. He received a new identity, becoming the father of many nations. And he lived in that faith, daring even to place his own son on the altar, fully convinced that I had power to raise the dead. In the same way, you are not called only to believe with your words, nor only to receive with your mind, but to live it out in action every day. There are some who stop at believing but never move on to receiving. They believe that I am good, yet they do not dare to open their hands to receive grace. There are some who have believed and have received, yet refuse to live. They hide the light under a bed, leaving the promise locked away in a drawer. But you must not be like that. I want you to become living evidence that faith is not an illusion, that grace is never wasted, that life in me is real and radiant. When these three work together, you will step into an entirely different level of victory. Faith opens the door. Receiving lets you step inside. Living turns the room into a home. When you live, faith ceases to be just an idea in your head and becomes strength in your hands. When you live, receiving ceases to be just a private experience and becomes a stream of blessing for others. When you live, what the enemy intended as chains becomes a launching pad to lift you higher. My child, the unity of these three is also a shield against every curse. When someone speaks a curse, if you only believe but do not receive, you will still feel unsettled. If you believe and receive but do not live, you will be weak when the wind blows. But if you believe, receive, and live, that curse becomes powerless, like an arrow extinguished against the shield of faith. You will watch it vanish like smoke, for within you is a life so secure no one can steal it. Look to the cross itself. Their faith is summoned, grace is given, and resurrection life explodes. The cross is the perfect picture of believing, receiving, living. When you stand at the foot of the cross, you believe that the blood of the Lamb is enough to redeem every sin. You open your heart to receive forgiveness and righteousness. Then you rise and walk, living as one who is free, no longer chained. This is the closed circle, the sacred cycle of life I want you to maintain daily. Do not treat this as a distant theory. This is a tool you can wield in every small trial. When you face fear, believe that I am with you. Receive the peace I give. Then live in that peace by refusing to let anxiety rule you. When you face lack, believe that I am your provider. Receive blessing through prayer. Then live generously, sharing with others, even before you see abundance. In that very moment, the miracle happens, and you will experience my goodness in a way you have never known. My child, these three are also 3 layers of armor for your soul: Faith guards your mind from lies. Receiving keeps your heart from drying out. Living protects your actions from becoming empty. When all three cover you, you are like a complete warrior, leaving no gap for the enemy to attack. You will stand firm in the day of trouble, unmoved by rumors, unbroken by disappointment, unbound by the past. Look back at your life. There were days when you believed but had not yet received, and so you still felt thirsty. There were days when you had received but had not yet lived, and so you still felt empty. But I promise that when you choose all three, your life will become like a lush garden, always blooming and bearing fruit. You will not only stand firm, but also spread out, becoming shade for many others. My beloved child, when these three, believing, receiving, living, are united within you, not only will your personal life be transformed, but the atmosphere around you will change. Picture this: faith is like the first spark, receiving is like fresh oil, and living is the fire that blazes. If there is only fire without oil, it quickly dies. If there is oil but no fire, it gives no light. But when fire meets oil, the whole sky ignites. In the same way, when you believe, receive, and live, not only are you illuminated, but the community, the generation itself, will see and be lit. Do not forget that I did not create you to live alone. You are part of a great body. When one person believes, receives, and lives, they are like a small lamp. But when many believe, receive, and live together, an entire city is lit. That is why I have said, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Your life is not only meaningful for you, but is also a ray of light within the larger picture of my plan. When you live in believing, receiving, living, you are joining a mighty current that no power of darkness can stop. That power is also seen in how it breaks the invisible barriers the enemy builds. Many believe but have not yet received, so they still live in fear and lack. Some have received but do not live, so the blessing stops with them and does not flow out. But when a community believes, receives, and lives together, spiritual barriers are torn down, collective curses are lifted, shared burdens are removed. Look at Israel when they united in faith in me, received manna and water from me, and lived under my guidance. An entire people walked through the Red Sea on dry ground. What is impossible for one becomes possible when a community moves in these three. My child, that is why I call you not only to live for yourself, but to live for the generation. Your faith does not only nourish your own soul, but becomes an inheritance for your children. Your receiving does not end with you, but is passed down to the next generation. Your living is not just your own story, but a testimony for many. When Abraham believed, received, and lived, he did not only receive blessing for himself, but for all nations. When Mary believed, received, and lived, she did not only experience grace, but opened the way for all humanity to meet the Savior. So it is with you. Your life carries within it an echo that reaches beyond the limits of time. The power of this union is also the key for you to overcome every form of spiritual opposition. The enemy may snatch away faith from someone who is not yet firm. It may cause someone to believe, but not dare to confess. It may deceive someone to confess, but not truly live. Yet if you hold all three, the enemy will be powerless. You believe, therefore you are not shaken by lies. You receive, therefore you are not lacking in blessing. You live, therefore you are not only defending but also advancing, bringing light to shatter darkness. When the three flow together, you are no longer a passive soul but a mighty warrior, carrying victory wherever your steps are planted. Meditate on this. The unity of believing, receiving, living is the very essence of Christ in you. How did he live? He believed wholly in the Father. He received fully the will and strength of the Father, and he lived by walking, preaching, healing, and offering himself upon the cross. He did not only believe, he did not only receive, he lived it out completely. Therefore he finished his mission, and opened the way for all nations. As you follow him, you too are invited to walk in the same rhythm, believing, receiving, living. This power also brings unshakable peace. Many are confused because they only believe but do not receive, or they only receive but do not live. But when you keep all three, your heart will be firm like Mount Zion. Though storms may rise, you will remain in peace. Though people may curse you, will walk lightly. Though the path is rough, you will still sing praises, for you know you are walking in a rhythm that cannot be broken. This is the rhythm of heaven, the unending flow of eternal life. My child, do not despise the small steps of each day. When you believe, receive, and live, even in the smallest matters, you are building a strong spiritual fortress. When you believe that I hear your prayers, receive the guidance from my word, and live by choosing what is right in difficult situations at that very moment, you are destroying the works of darkness. Power does not only come from great miracles, but from the perseverance of living these three daily. Just as drops of water continually falling can carve stone, the steadfastness of believing, receiving, living will shake the strongholds of the enemy. This is the inheritance I desire you to grasp and to pass on. Do not let your believing be only a memory. Do not let your receiving be only a personal experience, and do not let your living be only a temporary phase. Let them intertwine into a lasting way of life, so that when others look at you, they will see a river of grace flowing without ceasing, and they too will be stirred with longing, drawn in and invited into that stream. This is how my kingdom expands, not by outward force, but through the lives of those who know how to believe, how to receive, and how to live. My beloved child, when I gave you these three words, believe, receive, live, I did not hand them to you as three separate gifts, but as a cord of three strands not easily broken. A single strand may be weak, two may be stronger, but three woven together become a firm rope that no enemy can tear apart. This is how I protect you, and this is how I lead you into a life of triumph. When all three unite, they form a perfect circle, beginning in faith, strengthened in receiving, and bursting forth in living. That circle turns without ceasing, making your life a continuous stream of blessing, of light, of victory. I want you to understand that this power not only rescues you from curses, but places you in the position of a conqueror. Believing gives you certainty, receiving grants you authority, and living enables you to apply both to destroy the works of darkness. When you stand in this truth, you are no longer the one who flees, but the one who advances. You are no longer the victim, but the victor. You are no longer passive, but the one who actively brings light into the darkest places. This is the very nature of the power when believing, receiving, living are intertwined. My child, remember the words I have spoken. Whoever believes in me, rivers of living water will flow from within them. John 7:3-8. But do you see, believing is only the beginning. When you believe, you open your heart for that water to enter. When you receive, you allow it to fill you fully. And when you live, you let that water flow out, refreshing the barren deserts around you. If you only believe but do not receive, the water never comes. If you believe and receive but do not live, the water becomes a stagnant pool. But when you allow all three to unite, you become a mighty river, and everywhere you pass is revived. This power is also what renders every curse powerless. A curse can only cling to places that are barren, where life is absent. But when you believe, receive, and live, your soul becomes a flourishing garden. A curse cannot take root in soil rich with grace. It will be cast out like a seed falling upon stone. You do not need to strive to protect yourself, for the very rhythm of believing, receiving, living creates a heavenly shield around you. Darkness may knock at the door, but it will find no dwelling place. Imagine your life as a lamp. Faith is the wire, receiving is the current, and living is the light that shines forth. If there is only a wire without current, the lamp is useless. If there is current but it refuses to shine, the lamp remains dark. But when the wire, the current, and the light unite, the room is illuminated. In the same way, this world needs the light from you. Others will not see the wire within you, nor the invisible current, but they will see the light radiating from your life. That is why I call you not to stop at believing or receiving, but to live so that the light shines and darkness is driven away. This power also transforms the very nature of your inner being. Many live a double life, believing in their mind, but doubting in their heart, receiving blessings in prayer, but living in lack of daily reality. But when you hold all three, you become one. Your words, your faith, and your life harmonize together. This unity is what creates spiritual authority. The enemy trembles not because you know many doctrines, but because you live authentically what you believe and what you have received. The power of believing, receiving, living also makes you a builder of generations. Your life becomes a living book your children, friends, and community can read. People may doubt your words, but they cannot deny your life. When they see you persevere in trials, they will believe that I am real. When they see you receive blessing and still live generously, they will know grace does not run dry. When they see you living in unending joy, they will be drawn to the light. This is the power of the three woven together. It testifies louder than any sermon or argument. My child, this is why I emphasize that the union of believing, receiving, living is not just for you to survive, but for you to overcome. You do not merely get through hardship, you turn hardship into a launching pad. You do not only protect yourself, you open a way for others. You do not only keep the fire, you spread it everywhere. This union turns your life into a sacred instrument, sharp as a sword, steady as a shield, and blazing like a torch. I speak to you, never allow these three to be separated. When you are weary, remember to believe. When you are confused, remember to receive. When you rise up, remember to live. These three will lift you, keep you, and propel you forward. And when the final day comes, when you stand before me, you will hear these words: you have believed, you have received, you have lived. Enter into the joy of your Lord, my beloved. That is the destination, not believing for a moment, receiving only a portion, or living halfway, but believing to the end, receiving without ceasing, and living fully each day. Then you are not merely one who escapes the curse, but one who conquers, one who leaves an eternal inheritance. This is the power when believing, receiving, living are interwoven, and this is the secret of a victorious life in me. My child, I know you do not only long to hear my words, but also to bring them into every moment of your daily life. For if you only hear but do not do, you are like one who builds his house on sand. When the wind blows and the rain falls, the foundation will shake. But when you put my words into practice, you are like one who builds his house on the rock, steady, firm, unshakable. Therefore, I want you to understand daily life is not a time apart from the sacred. It is the very place where the sacred I have planted in you is tested and revealed. Morning is the most precious time to lay the foundation for the day. When you open your eyes, the first thing should not be the rush of busyness or the weight of worries ahead, but looking to me. A simple whisper, "Lord, I belong to you," is enough to open the flow of grace. When you give your morning to me, your whole day is covered. When you place me first, everything else finds its right place. I do not ask for long rituals, but for a sincere heart turned toward me. A short song, a remembered scripture, a minute of silence before my presence. All these are the first steps drawing you into the stream of daily life. Do not think that only in church or during prayer meetings you are close to me. Everything you do can become an offering if you do it with a heart surrendered to me. When you prepare a meal for your family, remember you are feeding the souls I have entrusted to you. When you work in the field, at the office, or in the classroom, remember each drop of sweat is a seed sown in my vineyard. When you care for the weak, comfort the grieving, or listen to a lonely soul, you are practicing my love in the world. That is living faith in a tangible way. I know there are times you feel weak, unable to maintain the daily practice, but it is in your weakness that my power is made perfect. Do not strive in your own strength. Let the Holy Spirit uphold you. Ask Him to guide every small step, from your words, your gaze, to your reactions under pressure. When you are about to grow angry, pause and whisper, "Holy Spirit, take control." When you are tempted to give up, murmur, "Give me strength." His presence is never far. He is waiting for your call. This is how you live in daily companionship with me. Beloved, spiritual discipline is the key that sustains your practice. Discipline is not a chain but a pair of wings. It does not imprison you, it frees you. When you set aside fixed times for prayer, reading my word, and worship, you are training your soul to be sensitive to my voice. Do not let the world's schedule consume the time meant for me. Guard these moments as you would a treasure. The more faithful you are in the small, the stronger you will be when facing the great trials. In daily practice, you must also learn to guard your thoughts. The mind is the battlefield where the enemy often sows seeds of doubt and fear. But remember, I have given you the power to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. When a negative thought arises, do not let it lodge. Replace it with my promise. When fear whispers, "You can't answer," with my word, "I can do all things through Him who gives me strength." When shame says you are worthless, remember, I have called you my beloved, a marvelous work of my hands. This is how you train your mind to be filled with light. Let praise become the breath of your daily life. Praise is not only for the easy moments, but also for the hard ones. When you sing in the night, darkness trembles. When you give thanks in trials, chains break. When you honor me in adversity, angels stand with you. Praise turns battlefields into places of victory. Let your mouth continually speak praise, so that your heart is always reminded that I reign over every circumstance. Another vital aspect of daily practice is forgiveness. Resentment is like venom gnawing at your soul day after day, but forgiveness is the key that unlocks freedom. Forgiving does not mean forgetting everything or excusing wrongdoing. It means handing over judgment to me so that your heart is no longer bound. Each day, examine your heart. Are you holding on to any bitterness? If you are, lay it down at the foot of the cross. When you forgive, you not only release others, you release yourself, opening the way for blessing to flow. I call you to walk in humility and daily service. Do not wait for great opportunities to serve. Begin with the smallest acts. A word of encouragement, a smile, a kind deed. All of these are worship when done for me. When you stoop to wash the feet of your brothers and sisters, you are living out my nature. When you choose to humble yourself, I will lift you up. That is the path to enduring glory. Daily practice also includes caring for your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Learn to rest, to eat with moderation, to work diligently, but know when to stop. Do not harm your body through negligence or greed. When you care for yourself, you show reverence to the One who created you. Remember, holiness is not only in the spirit, but also in how you steward your body and your time. My child, all these things will become a burden if you try to do them in your own strength. But if you walk in my love, everything will become as natural as breathing. For love turns discipline into joy, turns duty into privilege, and turns daily actions into a sweet offering. When you love, you will not count the hours of prayer as obligation, but as opportunities to draw near. When you love, you will not measure each act of service, but will rejoice at being like me. Love is the secret that keeps you practicing daily without growing weary. Remember, daily practice is not to make you perfect in the world's eyes, but to draw you closer to me. It is a long journey. Some days you will be strong, other days you will be weak. But do not lose heart. I look at faithfulness rather than perfection. Every step forward, however small, is precious in my eyes. When you fall, get up. When you are tired, come to me for a rest. When you lose your way, let my word be your light. This is the rhythm of a life lived daily with me. My child, I know there are days when faith feels easy, like a sail filled with wind on a calm ocean. But there are also days when the burden feels heavy, as if the whole sky were pressing on your shoulders. It is in those hard days that daily practice reveals its true strength. Anyone can sing when the sun is shining, but praising in the storm proves that your life is anchored in me. And this is what I want you to learn: to live by faith, not only in favorable times, but hour by hour, minute by minute, even in the deepest trials. In your daily work, it is easy to forget that I am with you. You get caught up in numbers, plans, meetings, and I seem to be pushed aside. But remember, your work is part of your worship. When you do it with faithfulness, you are offering it to me as a sacrifice. When you are honest in an environment full of schemes, you show forth the brightness of truth. When you serve customers, colleagues, or partners with patience, you reflect my kindness. Every email you write, every word you speak, every task you complete can become a seed planted in the field of eternity if you do it in my name. In relationships, daily practice is to live out love. I know there are times when you encounter people who make you angry, hurt you, or tempt you to withdraw. But in those very moments, I call you to choose love instead of resentment, forgiveness instead of revenge, intercession instead of judgment. Do not forget that the person next to you is also my handiwork. When you love them, you not only fulfill the law, but also build a fortress to protect your own soul from arrows of bitterness. Each day, practice speaking words of encouragement instead of criticism, sowing hope instead of despair, offering a smile instead of a frown. These small actions accumulate into great power, breaking invisible curses. My child, learn to bring my presence into every ordinary moment. When you are driving, whisper a prayer. When you walk, look at creation and give thanks. When you wash the dishes, let your mind join in a song of praise. When you care for your children, remember you are nurturing the next generation for my kingdom. No moment is insignificant if you place it in my presence. Daily practice means turning every simple activity into an opportunity to walk with me. Do not think that daily practice is only about what you choose to do. It is also revealed in how you respond to trials. When someone hurts you, your first reaction shows how you are living. If you respond with anger, the enemy rejoices. But if you pause, breathe, and remember my word, you have won a spiritual battle. When anxiety rushes in, if you give in, you open the door to darkness. But if you kneel and pray, you shut that door. Daily practice is a series of small but constant responses, and they shape your entire life. I know there are moments when you ask yourself, do these small things matter? I tell you yes, and far more than you imagine. A single drop of water can wear down a rock over the years. A tiny seed can grow into a great tree. A quiet prayer can change the destiny of a family. A simple act of kindness can touch a hardened heart. Do not despise the small things in daily practice. They accumulate into an invisible strength that builds a wall of protection around you against every curse and scheme. My child, daily practice also includes keeping holiness. Each day you will face temptations from images, words, habits, or enticements. Yet I call you to choose the narrow path. When you turn away from an impure glance, you are practicing holiness. When you switch off content that is not clean, you are guarding your soul. When you choose faithfulness in marriage, in your promises, and in your finances, you are building a pure temple for the Holy Spirit to dwell. Daily practice is not made of grand decisions, but of faithful choices in every detail. Another important part of practice is listening to my voice in stillness. The world is noisy, voices crowd in, but I often come in quietness. Each day set aside a few minutes of silence for me, no words, no requests, simply sitting in my presence and listening. In those moments, I will plant new ideas, heal old wounds, and remind you of my promises. Daily practice is not only doing, but pausing to hear. This is how you keep your soul from being disturbed by the noise around you. I want you to learn to live with gratitude in every circumstance. Each night before you sleep, look back on the day and find at least 3 things to thank me for. It may be as simple as a good meal, a kind word, or a small opportunity. Gratitude is like oil poured on a lamp, keeping the flame of faith from going out. When you give thanks, your heart opens wide to receive more blessings. When you complain, you close the door of your heart. Daily gratitude is the secret to keeping your soul joyful despite adversity. My child, daily practice is a journey, not a destination. Some days you will do much, some days little, but what matters is that you walk faithfully. Do not compare yourself to others. Each person has their own rhythm. I look at the heart and at perseverance more than at achievements. Begin with small steps and let me expand them. You will be amazed looking back to see how far those small steps have taken you. I want to remind you, daily practice does not make you my child, for you already are my child, but it helps you live out that identity. It does not purchase my love. My love has already been freely given, but it helps you enjoy that love fully. It does not make you more worthy, for in Christ you have already been justified, but it helps you experience that righteousness in each ordinary moment. This is the purpose of practice, not to add burdens, but to walk in freedom in life. When I teach you about daily practice, I do not want you to see it as one more weight added to life's pressures. On the contrary, I want you to see it as a natural flow, like breathing, like a heartbeat, a continual reminder that you live not by your own strength, but by me, the giver of life. Daily practice is not a to-do list, but a lifestyle in tune with my presence. It is how you weave the small threads of ordinary days into the eternal sacred tapestry. My child, remember, faithfulness in little things opens the door to great things. Whoever diligently waters a small seedling will soon see a whole garden flourish. Whoever faithfully learns to walk step by step will one day run the long road. In the same way, when you persist in praying even just a few minutes a day, when you faithfully read my word, even just a short passage, when you keep a thankful heart, even for one simple thing, these very acts accumulate into a steady strength, a fortress against every scheme of darkness. My beloved one, daily practice is also the art of guarding your heart. Your heart is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds will grow. If you do not uproot bad seeds, they will spread. But when you faithfully sow good seeds each day, a word of praise, a kind action, a pure thought, you will see that garden blossom and bear fruit. And when the enemy tries to plant seeds of bitterness, envy, or fear, they cannot take root because the soil is already full of good seed. Do not forget, daily practice also includes stewarding your words. Your words are like seeds planted in the hearts of others. A word of encouragement can lift a soul that is falling. A whispered prayer can change the destiny of an entire family. A declaration of faith can break invisible chains. But on the other hand, a harsh word can shatter a heart. A complaint can sow doubt. A faithless word can open the door to darkness. Therefore, practice daily to keep your lips filled with grace, carrying blessings, becoming a cool stream in the desert. An important part of daily practice is nurturing unity. You cannot walk the journey of faith alone. I have placed you in a body, the church, the community of saints. Each day, pray for your brothers and sisters, lift up the weak, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. When you maintain loving connections, you find spiritual protection that no isolated individual can ever have. It is in unity that the fire of faith is sustained and every curse is driven back. I want you to practice spiritual alertness daily. Do not let your heart fall asleep among comforts. The enemy often lurks, looking for an opening. But if you stay watchful, keeping your spiritual eyes open, you will recognize deception from afar and avoid its traps. Ask yourself often, where is my heart turning? Am I letting worldly concerns dim the heavenly light? When you form this habit, you will not be caught off guard by the storm because you have put on the armor while the sky is still blue. Daily practice is also learning to live in my presence anywhere. Do not seek me only in the temple at meetings or during set prayer times. Learn to see me in every moment. I am in the song of the morning birds, in the eyes of the beggar at the corner, in the smile of a child, in the gentle words of a loved one. When you see me in everything, the world ceases to be only a burden and becomes a rich tapestry woven by me. This is the secret to keeping your soul fresh every day, never bored, because I am always revealing something new. My child, do not forget that daily practice is also the art of giving. Not only money, but also time, talents, prayers, and your heart. When you share with the needy, when you spend time praying for others, when you surrender to me your own dreams and plans, you are living a life of offering. And I promise that no act of giving is in vain. Every tear, every sacrifice, every hidden deed is remembered and rewarded by me. Practice each day to give, because when you give, you yourself receive abundantly. Let prayer without ceasing become your breath. Prayer is not only fixed hours, but an ongoing conversation with me throughout the day. When you are joyful, share that joy with me. When you are sad, pour out your burden before me. When you need guidance, ask me. When you see someone suffering, intercede for them. This is how you live in a continual, unbroken relationship, keeping yourself connected to the source of strength. A day without prayer is like a day without breathing. Your soul grows tired and dry. Daily practice also includes cultivating sacred joy. Do not let worries and darkness steal your laughter. Learn to laugh more, sing more, rejoice more. Joy is medicine for the soul, a weapon against the enemy, a light in the night. When you choose joy in adversity, you challenge the darkness. When you sing in pain, you declare victory. Daily joy keeps your soul healthy and proves that you are living in my presence. My child, remember that daily practice is a continuous journey toward wholeness. Do not expect to be perfect overnight. I do not demand that you never fall. I call you to rise after each fall. Each day brings a new chance to begin again. Each morning my mercies are new. Therefore do not lose heart when you feel you have done little. I do not look at your shortcomings, I look at your faithfulness. And that daily faithfulness will turn you into a powerful witness, a bright torch in the night of the world. My beloved one, daily practice is the key for you to hold fast to faith, to leave no room for curses, to let blessing become the very breath of your life. Let each day become a song each hour, an offering each moment, a testimony that I live in you. When you do this, you will not only live, you will live abundantly, live fully, live in eternal glory. Thank you for listening to today's message. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that together we may receive the living word, build unshakable faith, and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.